Underwriters laboratories or all listed commercial unit can indeed be installed in a residential dwelling. The UL White Book distinguishes between commercial and household ranges. Commercial ranges are intended for commercial kitchen environments, while household ranges are designed for residential use. However, there isn't a specific rule that prevents the installation of a commercial range in a home. In fact, there can be some benefits to doing so. Commercial ranges are often more robust, offer greater power, and provide a wider array of features compared to typical household ranges. In addition, some commercial ranges can be more energy efficient. There are several factors to consider when installing a commercial range in a residence. Firstly, size is a key consideration. Commercial ranges are generally larger than household models, so ensuring adequate space is crucial. Secondly, electrical requirements differ. Commercial ranges often need a higher voltage supply than standard household ranges, potentially requiring an upgrade to the electrical system. Thirdly, ventilation is important. Commercial ranges can generate more heat, making proper kitchen ventilation essential. In summary, installing a UL-listed commercial range in a residential dwelling is generally acceptable, but careful consideration of space, electrical requirements, and ventilation is necessary before proceeding. Now let's delve a bit deeper into each of these considerations. Space is one, as commercial ranges are designed for commercial kitchens which tend to be larger and more spacious than residential kitchens. Before purchasing a commercial range, carefully measure the available space in the kitchen, paying attention to the width, depth, and height. Ensure there is enough clearance around the range for safe operation and maintenance. Consider the placement of other appliances and fixtures to avoid overcrowding the area. You may need to reconfigure the kitchen layout or make modifications to accommodate the larger size of the commercial range. 2. Electrical requirements must be considered. Commercial ranges typically operate at higher voltages, such as 208 volts or 240 volts, compared to standard household ranges that operate at 120 volts or 240 volts. Verify the voltage and amperage requirements of the commercial range and compare them to the existing electrical system in the house. If the electrical system is not compatible, consult a qualified electrician to upgrade the wiring, circuit breakers, and outlets. This may involve running new circuits from the electrical panel to the kitchen. Ensure that all electrical work complies with local electrical codes and regulations, such as those defined in the National Electrical Code, or NEC. 3. Ventilation is also important. Commercial ranges produce more heat, smoke, and fumes than household ranges, making proper ventilation essential to maintain indoor air quality and prevent fire hazards. Install a high-capacity ventilation system, such as a commercial-grade range hood, above the range to effectively remove cooking byproducts. The range hood should be sized appropriately for the range and vented to the outdoors. Regularly clean and maintain the ventilation system to ensure optimal performance. Consider installing additional ventilation measures such as exhaust fans to improve airflow and reduce the risk of heat buildup. Therefore, the decision to install a commercial range in a residence requires careful planning and consideration of these factors to ensure a safe and functional kitchen environment. Let's talk more about underwriters' laboratories or UL listings. A UL listing signifies that a product has been tested and meets established safety standards. UL is a globally recognized safety organization that evaluates products for potential hazards such as electric shock, fire, and mechanical failures. When a product is UL listed, it means that UL has determined that it complies with its safety requirements and can be used safely under normal operating conditions. The UL mark is a symbol of safety and reliability that provides assurance to consumers, manufacturers, and regulatory authorities. There are different types of UL listings, each tailored to specific product categories and applications. For example, UL-listed products for household use may have different requirements than UL-listed products for commercial or industrial use. The UL White Book, also known as the General Information for Electrical Equipment Directory, provides detailed information about UL-listed products, including their intended use, ratings, and installation requirements. It serves as a valuable resource for electrical inspectors, contractors, and engineers to ensure that electrical equipment is installed and used safely and in compliance with applicable codes and standards. When selecting electrical equipment for any application, including ranges, it is essential to choose products that are UL listed to ensure safety and reliability. Look for the UL mark on the product and refer to the UL White Book for specific listing information and installation guidelines. Now let's consider the electrical aspects of range installation in more detail, since upgrading your electrical system can be a complex task. First, determining the existing electrical capacity is important. Before installing a commercial range, assess the existing electrical capacity of the house to determine if it can handle the increased electrical load. Check the main electrical panel to determine the amperage rating of the service entrance and the available capacity on the existing circuits. Consult a qualified electrician to perform a load calculation to determine the total electrical demand of the house, including the commercial range. If the existing electrical system is not sufficient, you may need to upgrade the service entrance, electrical panel, and wiring to accommodate the additional load. Next, consider wiring requirements. Commercial ranges typically require dedicated circuits with higher amperage ratings than standard household ranges. The wiring must be properly sized to handle the increased current and prevent overheating. Use the appropriate gauge of wire, as specified in the National Electrical Code, or NEC, based on the amperage rating of the circuit. Install the wiring in conduit or cable trays to protect it from physical damage and ensure compliance with electrical codes. Use approved connectors and fittings to make secure electrical connections. Then, the next step is to install circuit breakers. Protect each circuit with a properly sized circuit breaker to prevent overloads and short circuits. Select circuit breakers that are compatible with the wiring and electrical panel. Install ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, protection for circuits serving the range to reduce the risk of electric shock. Clearly label each circuit breaker to identify its purpose and amperage rating. Test the circuit breakers periodically to ensure they are functioning properly. Another consideration is voltage compatibility. Commercial ranges may operate at different voltages than standard household ranges, requiring a voltage conversion or transformer. Verify the voltage requirements of the commercial range and compare them to the voltage available in the house. If the voltages are not compatible, install a step-up or step-down transformer to convert the voltage to the required level. Ensure that the transformer is properly sized to handle the load of the commercial range. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for installing and wiring the transformer. Proper grounding is also important. Ensure that the commercial range is properly grounded to prevent electrical shock and ensure safe operation. Connect the grounding wire from the range to a grounding electrode system, such as a ground rod or water pipe. Verify that the grounding system is properly installed and meets the requirements of the National Electrical Code, or NEC. Test the grounding system periodically to ensure its effectiveness. After all these electrical considerations, you should have a qualified electrician inspect the completed installation to ensure that it complies with all applicable codes and standards. Obtain the necessary permits and approvals from local authorities before starting any electrical work. Document all electrical work, including wiring diagrams, circuit breaker schedules, and inspection reports. Following these steps will ensure the safety and reliability of the electrical system when installing a commercial range in a residence. Now let's get into a deeper discussion about ventilation requirements, a key aspect of safe commercial range installation. Firstly, determine the ventilation needs. Assess the ventilation requirements of the commercial range based on its heat output, cooking volume, and type of cooking. Consider factors such as the size of the kitchen, the number of occupants, and the frequency of cooking. Consult the manufacturer's specifications for the range to determine the recommended ventilation rate, measured in cubic feet per minute, or CFM. Determine the appropriate type of ventilation system based on the kitchen layout, budget, and aesthetic preferences. The next step is to choose a range hood. Select a range hood that is specifically designed for commercial use and is sized appropriately for the commercial range. Choose a range hood with a high CFM rating to effectively remove heat, smoke, and fumes from the cooking area. Consider features such as adjustable fan speeds, built-in lighting, and grease filters. Ensure that the range hood is made of durable materials and is easy to clean and maintain. Then, install the range hood correctly. Install the range hood according to the manufacturer's instructions and in compliance with local building codes. Position the range hood directly above the commercial range to capture cooking byproducts at their source. Ensure that the range hood is securely mounted to the wall or ceiling and is properly supported. Connect the range hood to a dedicated electrical circuit and provide proper grounding. Another aspect of ventilation is ductwork. Install ductwork to vent the range hood to the outdoors, ensuring that the ductwork is properly sized and sealed to prevent leaks. Use smooth, rigid ductwork to minimize airflow resistance and maximize ventilation efficiency. Avoid sharp bends and long runs of ductwork, as they can reduce ventilation performance. Insulate the ductwork to prevent condensation and heat loss. Then the next step is to make up air. Provide make-up air to replace the air that is exhausted by the range hood. Install make-up air vents or dampers to allow fresh air to enter the kitchen. Position the make-up air vents away from cooking areas to prevent drafts and maintain a comfortable environment. Consider using a mechanical ventilation system to supply filtered and conditioned make-up air. Also, consider regular cleaning and maintenance. Clean the range hood and ductwork regularly to remove grease and debris. Inspect the ventilation system periodically for any signs of damage or wear. Replace filters and other components as needed to maintain optimal performance. Schedule professional cleaning and maintenance services to ensure the ventilation system is functioning properly. Now be sure to comply with codes and standards. Comply with all applicable building codes and ventilation standards when installing a commercial range and ventilation system. Obtain the necessary permits and approvals from local authorities before starting any work. Consult with a qualified mechanical engineer or contractor to ensure that the ventilation system meets all requirements. Document all ventilation work, including specifications, drawings, and inspection reports. Proper ventilation is essential for maintaining a safe and healthy indoor environment when installing a commercial range in a residence. Now let's discuss specific safety considerations when installing a commercial range in a residential setting. 1. Fire safety is very important. Commercial ranges can generate high temperatures and pose a fire hazard if not properly installed and maintained. Install a fire suppression system, such as a fire extinguisher or automatic fire suppression system, in the kitchen to quickly extinguish any fires that may occur. Keep flammable materials away from the range and cooking area. Regularly inspect and clean the range and ventilation system to prevent grease buildup, which can increase the risk of fire. 2. Carbon monoxide detection is important. Commercial ranges that use gas fuel can produce carbon monoxide, a colorless and odorless gas that can be deadly. Install carbon monoxide detectors in the kitchen and other areas of the house to alert occupants of dangerous carbon monoxide levels. Test the carbon monoxide detectors regularly to ensure they are functioning properly. Ensure that the gas range is properly vented to the outdoors to prevent carbon monoxide buildup. 3. Scald hazards need to be considered. Commercial ranges can produce hot surfaces and steam, posing a scald hazard to occupants, especially children and pets. Install barriers or guards around the range to prevent accidental contact with hot surfaces. Use caution when handling hot pots, pans, and liquids. Supervise children and pets in the kitchen to prevent them from getting burned. 4. Gas leak detection is something to consider. Commercial ranges that use gas fuel can leak gas, creating a fire or explosion hazard. Install gas leak detectors in the kitchen to alert occupants of gas leaks. Test the gas leak detectors regularly to ensure they are functioning properly. If you smell gas, evacuate the house immediately and call the gas company or fire department. 5. Tip-over prevention is important. Commercial ranges can be heavy and unstable, posing a tip-over hazard, especially if they are not properly secured. Secure the range to the floor or wall to prevent it from tipping over. Use anti-tip brackets or straps that are specifically designed for ranges. Ensure that the range is level and stable before using it. 6. Electrical safety is important. Commercial ranges that use electricity can pose an electrical shock hazard if not properly installed and grounded. Ensure that the range is properly grounded and wired according to electrical codes. Use ground fault circuit interrupter or GFCI outlets to reduce the risk of electric shock. Avoid using extension cords or multi-plug adapters with the range. Finally, professional installation is also important. Hire a qualified professional to install the commercial range to ensure that it is done safely and correctly. Obtain the necessary permits and inspections from local authorities before installing the range. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for installation and operation. By taking these safety precautions, you can minimize the risks associated with installing a commercial range in a residential setting. Remember that local codes and regulations may vary, so it's important to consult with local authorities and qualified professionals to ensure compliance and safety. Consider also consulting with the local authority having jurisdiction or OJ.